There's always a lot of questions this time of year about exemption cards, entering exam grades, and submitting grades at the end of the year. So let's look at a few things. First, exemption cards. Let's say a student brings one of these in and wants you to sign it. There's some things you need to check first. This student's from my 0A class, so we're going to go to our score grid, wait on the slow grade book, of course, and look at the grade. Here we have a 74.75. That's going to round up to a 75. So as far as the grade goes, she's able to exempt. Let's check her attendance. In this window, you're going to scroll down to attendance information and click on that. It'll bring up the entire calendar for the school year with all of their attendance marks. That's a little hard to read, so if you will change it to just your class period, here you can count absences in red and teal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one 6, 7. It looks like she's gone over. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say, sorry, you can't exempt. A couple of other things to look at on this screen, of course, though. The pinks are the tardy codes, and the blues are school business, so don't worry about those. Don't count the blues. But assuming they can exempt, or maybe she goes Miss Hartwig and gets a few of those knocked off, bring this back, sign for your class period, and if you're the last one, keep it, turn it back into the office. Otherwise, give it to the student and let them go on their way. Now, once you've done this, you're going to want to make sure you've got a record. So go back to your home screen. This is the class list. The final exams and exemptions are entered here in the RC screen. That's for report cards. So we'll go to my 0-hour report card screen. You'll see that it's blank for 18-week grades. That's because we haven't entered any of our coursework yet. So let's put an X in for this student's exemption. You'll notice when you move off of that, the OVR, that's override checkbox, marks automatically. You want to make sure that's on. You can do several of these in one screen. Make sure all of the overrides are checked and hit save when you're done. So now the finals are done, they're all graded, it's time to record them. We're going to go back to that same RC screen. I'm going to use my 0A class as an example again. A couple of things to notice in this screen. Our 18-week column is completely empty. That's because we haven't moved any of our grades over from the coursework yet. The EXM for semester exam only has the exemptions we've entered and the overrides are checked. There are no numbers. That's what we're going to type in. Go ahead and put in all of the scores for those. And watch the overrides light up. That's a good thing. Your semester exam column should be completely empty. I have an override checked here by accident. We'll make sure we undo that and then hit save. To bring the grades in and automatically calculate the semester grade, you're going to use the Load from Gradebook button. Make sure you're on Report Card Run 2 for all of this. That should be the default setting, but double check it. After you've loaded from Gradebook, you'll see the 18-week column now has all of the data from the semester coursework, except that there's a couple of problems here. I have some that are reporting as C's and D's instead of numbers. We always report our grades as numbers. So if that's an issue for you, if you have any of those you want to double check, we're going to need to fix those before we go any further. I'm going to go back to my home screen and my score grid. And we'll see why this is a problem. A prime example right here. The student's grade is actually a 69.51. That should round up to a 70 and a C the way we do our math here, except the gradebook is still reporting that as a D. This is because some of our categories have gotten off. You can extend this column right here, show report card scale column, and that will show you the method that the gradebook is using to calculate the grades. We should be on a blank setting, but a few of them have been left as normal breakpoints due to some issues earlier in the year. So make sure you go through and set each one of those to blank and watch that grade change. Now it says a 70, it's rounding correctly, and that will go in his transcript as a C. You'll need to set that for anyone who's got a letter showing in their RC value column. It does take a second because the gradebook has to refresh between each one, but as soon as those are all clear, we can go back to our home screen and then our RC for report card screen. And all we have to do is load those from Gradebook again. Notice that the overrides are not checked. That means when I hit the load from Gradebook button, it will bring in new values. There we have all numbers. It has calculated the semester grades for me, and everything looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit save one last time and send these on over to the registrar. The next big question is always about service credit workers. I've never been lucky enough to have one, so we're going to jump over to the South Library Gradebook for a second. Here is the first period service credit worker. There won't be any assignments for service credit, so we'll jump straight into report cards. And there's no grade to give a number to. Service credits pass or no credit. There's two ways to do this. You can hit the button here and look in the list for the P for pass grade code. I suppose if you had one that was really terrible, you could even give them an NC for no credit. If you have a bunch of these in one of the offices, it may take you a while to look through all of those. Feel free to just type in the letter P and move on your way. Make sure you hit save, and that's as good as done. Oh no, I made some mistakes. It's all right. Let's look at some ways to fix common problems that show up in your report cards. So as I look through this screen, I realize this student has an exemption, but only a 70. He was not eligible to exempt. Turns out it was a data entry error. He actually did take the final, got an 86. I will just replace that X and make sure that my override box is still checked. That's not going to change the semester grade automatically, but it will take care of that the next time we hit the update button. Moving on. Let's see, here's a student who after the final had a 79. Turns out I found under a stack of papers some more homework that he hadn't done yet. Now I can go back and make all the changes I want in my semester coursework gradebook grid. But if I do that there, I still have to come back here and load it from Gradebook to update that. Turns out I know the result is going to be the same. It's going to add just enough points to bring him up to an 80, and it's going to fix his semester grade as well. If that is checked in the override column, this is the number that will be there, and there won't be any updating of that automatically. Other things that may look weird. I've got a lot of blanks here. It turns out that this was a 0-hour class, and a lot of students had their schedules changed throughout the year. The only reason you should have a blank in this EXM exam column is that the student was not enrolled in your class at the time of final exams. That means they withdrew before a final grade could be given. So any blanks in the exam column will also leave a blank in the semester report card column. So be careful of that. If they were in your class, they must have a grade in that exam column. X for exemption, 0 for skips. If they were not there for the final, but they should have been, give them a 0. Make sure that's filled in. Hit the load from Gradebook button one more time, and that's going to update all of my changes. Let's look back real quick at those two guys, and here's the recalculated semester exam score for the one who had his final entered. And here are the overridden scores, no change. The Gradebook leaves those alone. Make this look however you want. Remember, you're legally responsible for those numbers.